Hey everyone, my name is Wes. This is Interactive English. The channel is just all about trying to help you practice and improve your English skills. And today I have a grammar lesson for you. I want to talk to you about 5 tricky grammar rules that I think you should remember because this is just going to help you improve your overall English fluency. So let's begin with these 2 tricky words right here, who versus whom. So the first thing that you should know is that who refers to the subject and whom refers to the object of the verb or preposition. So a simple little trick that I want to teach you right now to help you determine, okay, which one should you use, who or whom, is that if you are going to make a sentence using the unknown word, if you can use he or she, then you are going to use who. If you make a sentence and you can complete it with him or her, then you will use whom. So let's look at these sentences right here, these questions. And we're going to change these questions around, and I can take the first one and I could make the sentence, he would like some ice cream. I'm going to use he, which is the subject, so you would use who. Who would like some ice cream? In the next question, let's change it again. We'll make a sentence and we could say, I should ask her for help. Her is the object, so now I'm going to use whom. Whom should I ask for help? So I think this can get pretty confusing when you have sentences like these. And you are going to have a noun clause, and a noun clause will have a subject, a verb, and maybe an object, and you're trying to determine whether or not you're going to use who or whom. So let's get rid of the first part of this sentence, and let's just focus on that noun clause, and I can change it around and make a sentence and say, he wrote the email. So again, I'm talking about the subject, so I'm going to use who. I don't know who wrote the email. In the next sentence, again, let's forget about the first part, focus on that noun clause. And again, we can make the following sentence. The email is about him. Him is an object. So now you know that you're going to use whom. I don't know whom the email is about. Another reason why this can be tricky is because in spoken English, especially in places like the United States, which is where I am from, people will often use who instead of whom.
Every time you get into the ring, that's who you're going against.
You're going up against him, the object. So it really should be, that's whom you're going up against.
Oh, I'm sorry, but who else can I talk to about this?
I can talk to her about this. So it really should be, but whom else can I talk to about this? So you can see that it's pretty common that in places like the US, people will use who instead of whom in spoken English. That's just something that I want you to be aware of. I'm not saying that you should do this. I would always encourage you to try to follow the rules as best as you can, but this is another reason why this is pretty tricky grammar. Now, before we continue, I'd like to take a moment and tell you about the sponsor of today's lesson, which is Lingoda. And if you would like to improve your overall English fluency, taking online classes with Lingoda will really help. There are so many benefits to learning with Lingoda. I've even studied with Lingoda. I took some Spanish classes, and it was a really great experience. And I say that this will really help for several reasons. First, these are small group classes, which means you will have more opportunities to speak, and you're also going to get more attention from the teacher. Also, classes are available 24/7 because I know many of you have a busy schedule, but this way there are always classes available for you to take. In addition, you get to study at home, and I think that's very important because I always tell learners that it's so much more helpful if you are able to learn in a comfortable environment. And I think home is probably one of the most comfortable places for you to learn English. And you can do all of this at a very affordable price, as low as €8 per group class. And Lingoda is always finding ways to continue making their school better and better. Now they even have quizzes and homework. All of this is done to help you improve your fluency skills. Right now, Lingoda has a great offer because you can sign up and get a free 7-day trial that includes 3 group classes. And you can also use my voucher code, WES7, to get a €20 discount off your first month's payment. Click on the link in the description down below to sign up for your free 7-day trial. And don't forget to use my voucher code WES7 so that when you continue your classes, you will get a €20 discount. And and then you will just be on your way to achieving your fluency goals. So let's get back to our lesson on tricky grammar rules. And the next thing I want to talk to you about is spelling, because sometimes people will write me and they'll ask me about the spelling of certain words, and they're like, well, which one is correct? Because I've seen it spelled two different ways. And often the difference that they're talking about is the difference in spelling between American English and British English. And there are some notable differences. One example would be the ER versus RE in words like theater or center. There are also differences with the single L versus the double L in words like traveled and counselor. And of course, there are differences between the O and OU in words like color and favorite. So let's go back to what you should do. The one thing that I would say is that either form is acceptable. You can spell the words either way. The only thing I would say is that you are consistent and that you're not switching back and forth between the American spelling and the British spelling. If you're going to say some sentence like this and say, blue is my favorite color, and you are going to spell favorite like you would in the United States, but then you're going to spell color like you would in the UK, that may look a little strange. So what I would recommend is that you just try to be consistent and follow one of the spelling forms, whether it is American English or British English. Just be aware there are some differences when it comes to spelling. Then we come to gender neutral pronouns, or some people may refer to them as third person personal pronouns. I just like to say gender neutral pronouns, but well, what I'm talking about is this. I once had someone write to me and they said that their friend is getting ready to have a baby, but they're not sure whether it's a boy or a girl. And they were wanting to know, well, how should I refer to the baby? And my advice was that if they don't know, then you could just say the baby. But this brings us to a problem in English, because there's not a gender neutral pronoun that is widely accepted. Think about this situation. Perhaps you have a friend and you tell me like, oh, my friend is traveling to the US. And I ask, well, why is your friend traveling to the US? Is he or she taking a vacation? People may use he or she when you don't know the gender of a person. You're talking about your friend, but you don't say if it's a man or a woman. And I don't know. So if I want to refer to your friend, I would have to say he or she. That is... It's a problem in English because sometimes when you're talking about an unknown gender, you might do it quite often, and it gets a little tedious and a little, I guess, weird to keep saying he or she, he or she, he or she. So instead of using he or she, I would say that you can use they. All right, I'm going to go ahead and tell you that you can use it because I do think nowadays it's more accepted to use they as a gender neutral pronoun. And I know that you're probably thinking, wait a second, in class, I've always learned that they refers to more than one person. It is a plural pronoun. Yes, that is true. However, in this situation, when you're talking about a gender that you don't know, I think it's very common. I do it all the time. I would use they instead of he or she. I'm not always going to say he or she. So let's go back to that example. If you told me that your friend is traveling to the US, it's very natural for me to say, oh, why is your friend traveling to the US? Are they taking a vacation? So I'm going to use they, the pronoun, but I'm going to use it as a singular pronoun that is gender neutral because I do not know if your friend is a man or woman. This is definitely becoming more accepted nowadays. You will even find this in some very well-known online dictionaries. Cambridge says that you can use this to avoid saying he or she. Told you I don't really like to continuously say he or she. And Merriam-Webster actually gives you a lot of specific information about the singular they. One thing I would say is that if you are writing, and writing is a bit more formal, I think it is appropriate to use he or she when you're writing in a formal context. And when you're speaking, I think quite often you will hear the singular they, and I think you can use it as well if you're talking about an unknown gender It's a singular, gender-neutral pronoun. Now let's talk about crazy plural nouns. And I say crazy because they are irregular. And I think most of you are probably familiar with the rules. If you want to change a noun from singular and make it plural, then perhaps you're going to add an S, like chairs, or ES in boxes, or IES, such as stories. Those are the general rules when you want to change a noun from singular to plural. Now, the good news is there's even a rule that you could follow with some irregular plural nouns. For example, if a noun ends with an F or FE, then when you change it to plural, you're going to add VES. So wolf becomes wolves, or leaf becomes leaves. For other irregular plural nouns, you really just need to memorize like you're learning new vocabulary. But there are many of them that we use frequently and you probably already know. For example, child becomes children. It's a pretty common word. Or foot becomes feet. These are some common irregular plural nouns. There are others that are not very common. You're probably not going to use them in everyday conversation, and you would just really try to learn them over time. For example, ox, the plural is oxen, or the plural of index is indices, or octopus is octopi, because you never know, maybe you're out swimming in the ocean and you are surrounded by some octopi. It could happen. And now let's talk about pronouncing silent letters, because in English there are many words that have silent letters, like this one, ni. And you might be wondering, well, wait, why? Why is that K silent? Well, pronunciation is something that has changed over time. So this word, actually, I think we got it from German. And if you look up the German word for ni, you have it right here. And then if we have Google pronounce it for us, it's going to sound like this.
Knie, knie.
Many German speakers out there can tell me if that's close, the pronunciation. But you hear that K sound. And in Old English, a long time ago, people would pronounce the K. And then over time, I think they think maybe in the 16th and 17th century, because of the influence of Latin and French, the K just got dropped and people stopped pronouncing it. So how do you solve this puzzle? Because you might want to know, well, how can you avoid pronouncing these silent letters so that you don't misspeak and perhaps cause a little confusion if you're having a conversation? Well, there's not really a general rule that you can follow. I think the best thing you can do is just try to understand which letter combinations may have a silent letter, like KN and ni. You also have the WR combination where the W is silent in words like right. And then there is the GN combination where the G is silent in words like foreign. So in my opinion, if you want to learn how to pronounce these words with silent letters, I'm going to give you 3 suggestions. The first one is use subtitles. If you're watching a TV show or a movie, turn on those subtitles. You're able to see the word, see the spelling, and listen to the correct pronunciation. Something similar to that, and it's my next suggestion, is audiobooks. When you're reading a story, you're reading a book, listen to the audiobook and follow along, because again, you see the words, you see the spelling, and you're listening to the correct pronunciation. And my final suggestion, and personally, I think this is the best one of all, and that is to watch some of my video lessons. I have created a playlist just for you that has a lot of different pronunciation video lessons in which I'm talking about commonly mispronounced words. Many of them have silent letters, so you can check that out if you want to practice and improve your pronunciation. If you enjoyed this lesson, please hit that like button. And as always, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.